What if I told you the absolute biggest reason most people never become rich has, well, absolutely nothing to do with their salary? Seriously. In this explainer, we're diving into exactly why 90% of people never become rich and what the other 10% do differently. We usually assume wealth is just a direct reflection of a paycheck, but the data and the habits of the highly successful, they suggest a completely different reality. There is a massive, fundamental divide between the 90% who struggle to build wealth and the 10% who actually pull it off. So let's start with part one, the great wealth illusion, and more importantly, what wealth is absolutely not. First up, it isn't because they're unlucky. So many of us write off the success of others as just a simple stroke of good fortune, right? A total right place, right time scenario. But the reality, waiting around for luck to strike is literally not a financial strategy. The barrier standing between you and financial freedom is definitely not a lack of four-leaf clovers. Next, it isn't because they weren't born rich. Now, yes, generational wealth absolutely exists. We all know that. But believing that you have to be born into money to accumulate money, that is a total trap. It's a limiting belief that stops millions of people from even trying to build their own net worth from scratch. And finally, it isn't because they don't work hard. Honestly, this is probably the most painful myth to break. There are people working incredibly demanding, back-breaking jobs right now, putting in maximum effort every single day, who are still living paycheck to paycheck. So think about it. If it's not luck, if it's not your parents' bank account, and it's not the sheer volume of hard work, what is it? Well, the real reason is something most people simply never even notice. Let's find out what that is.
This brings us to part two, the endless income cycle, which is basically the baseline trap for most of us.
Okay, so picture this. Every single day, millions of people wake up, they go to work, they earn money, they spend that money, and then they repeat it. And they do this exact same cycle for decades. Imagine the sheer amount of time and energy poured into this sequence over a 20, 30, or 40-year career. Yet despite all that motion, at the end of the month, there's very little money left over. It's this claustrophobic reality where you're constantly moving, but you're never actually advancing financially. We call this the income cycle. It's the repetitive process of earning money simply to spend it, often resulting in little to no leftover wealth. If you've ever felt like you've been running on a treadmill, well, this is exactly why. It's a system designed for pure survival, not for building anything lasting. But the wealthy, they step off this treadmill entirely. They are playing a very, very different game. The first major difference is a profound shift in mindset. People trapped in the cycle are always asking this short-term survival question. How can I earn more today? They're literally trading their time for immediate cash. But the 10%? They ask a totally different question. They ask, how can my money earn more money tomorrow? They view their income not as something to just be consumed, but as like employees that they can put to work to generate even more capital down the line. Moving into part three, time and lifelong learning. These are the key mental shifts required to break out. Let's look at the second major difference, which is how we perceive time. Most people want results in weeks. Let's be real. We're all kind of conditioned for instant gratification, right? But wealthy people often think in years. They zoom way, way out. They understand that building wealth usually takes deep patience, strict discipline, and making consistent decisions over a really long horizon. It is almost never an overnight success story. It's a slow, compounding process. Which builds perfectly into our third difference, learning. For the vast majority of people, education has a hard stop right after they leave school or university. But successful entrepreneurs, investors, and business owners, they do the exact opposite. They continuously study markets, devour books, and persistently develop new skills throughout their entire lives. The classroom never really closes for them. And the result of all that continuous learning? Knowledge literally becomes one of their greatest assets. It's not just a nice-to-have. It's a tangible tool that allows them to navigate the financial world way better than the average person. When you actually understand how money works, you are uniquely positioned to capture it. That takes us to part four, ownership and calculated risk, which is really about executing all of this theory. The fourth difference is exactly how they handle risk. Listen, poor decisions can be incredibly expensive, but instead of taking random, chaotic gambles on the newest trend, the wealthy use their accumulated knowledge to thoroughly understand the risks before deciding. It's not about avoiding risk entirely, because hey, growth requires risk. It's about making it a calculated, strategic move. Now, the fifth difference explores where you actually put your daily effort. Most people spend their entire lives working for companies, right? Trading their limited hours to build someone else's asset. But many wealthy people aim for the exact opposite. They want to own businesses, investments, or other assets that have the potential to generate income over time. They want to be on the ownership side of the equation because assets can earn money while you sleep. Your time, on the other hand, is firmly capped. Part 5 is a big one: escaping lifestyle creep and entering the danger zone. So, the moment income finally increases, many people immediately upgrade their lifestyle. You get a raise, so what do? You finance a more expensive car. You get a promotion, so you take on a bigger mortgage for a bigger house. You start buying luxury items. All that extra money you finally managed to earn, poof, it vanishes instantly into liabilities that just end up costing you more to maintain. But here is exactly how the wealthy handle that exact same raise. They fiercely avoid increasing their spending too quickly. Instead of financing a shiny new car, they take that extra money and invest a larger share of their growing income. They use that extra cash flow to buy more assets, which just further accelerates their escape from that income cycle we talked about earlier. And finally, part 6, the true goal of money. This is the biggest secret of them all. Money is only a tool. The real goal isn't to look rich, it's to build long-term financial security and freedom. Let that sink in for a second. The 90%, they want to look rich, but the 10% want to actually be free. They use money as a tool to buy back their time, not to buy status symbols that just keep them chained to a desk. Now, we need to be completely honest here for a second. Does this mean everyone who follows these habits will automatically become a millionaire? No, there are no guarantees. Life, opportunities, and individual circumstances are totally different for absolutely everyone. We are all starting from completely different places on the board. But here's what we do know for sure. Adopting these habits can dramatically help improve your financial decision-making over time. Because becoming wealthy is rarely about one lucky day. It's usually about thousands of smart decisions repeated over many, many years. It's a steady drumbeat of choosing assets over liabilities, education over entertainment, and tomorrow's freedom over today's flash. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to reframe how you look at wealth. Usually, the first question people ask when they look at the 10% is simply, why are some people rich? They look outward, constantly searching for a secret trick or some unfair advantage. But the better, far more powerful question to ask yourself is this: what habits can I start changing today? Because your future isn't shaped by luck. It is almost always shaped by the very small choices you make every single day. Take a hard look at your own income cycle, your own learning habits, your own spending. Are you building assets or buying liabilities? If you enjoyed this explainer about money, business, economics, and success, make sure to subscribe for more true stories and practical lessons that explain how the financial world really works. I'll see you next time.